So we will see what happens there. Anyway, getting back to what I was saying, see if I can refresh some of this here. If anybody can see me in the live chat, let me know, because I'm watching that as we go along. Looks like I'm up to 2 viewers on D Live. Alright, looks like we are back up here. Yeah, no, the internet blinked for a second. It has not done this during contemporary. This is the first time. So, we are back. We are back up. Alright, let's get back to where I was going with this. So, we had egg prices are skyrocketing. So, yeah, I went over to the local grocery store the other day. I was just telling the story about how I got $30 worth of meat for $10. I went over to the local grocery store last Sunday to go get some oatmeal because I eat oatmeal every Sunday. And just for a glance, because I knew I was out of eggs, I looked over. The whole egg carton was just gone. Every egg was out of there. So now we're starting to see supply chain shortages on this. Americans are stockpiling eggs during the coronavirus crisis as they cook more meals at home. That's leading to supply shortages and a spike in prices at some supermarkets. Egg sales increased 44% for the week ending on March 14th compared with a year ago, according to the most recent Nielsen data. Walmart and other big grocers have implemented limits in recent days on purchases of eggs, cleaning supplies and other products that are in high demand from customers. So, people are in quarantine right now and they're baking and they're cleaning. I'm not on quarantine, but I'm still doing some of that. Those of you who are in my Discord server, which is linked below on most platforms, can see that I made homemade butter last night. Just on a whim. I had some heavy cream in a mason jar and I made some homemade butter. And it is delicious. I had some on a piece of bread this morning before I went live. Consumers are panic shopping, and much like we see ahead of a snowstorm, they're purchasing staple items milk, bread, toilet paper, and eggs, except obviously this is on a national scale and for a much longer period of time. Now, it's not panic shopping anymore at this point, I don't think. I've looked at the general air of people. Now it's just they're bored and they want to make bread and cookies and stuff like that. Stuff they normally wouldn't have time to do during the week. Retailers are ordering up to 6 times their normal egg volumes and have depleted the supply that producers were beginning to build for Easter, he said. Buyers have paid huge premiums to secure loads. Wholesale egg prices have risen 180% since the beginning of March, according to Urner Barry, which publishes a daily benchmark of the industry. So, yeah. I don't think this is panic. I think this is, just people want to clean their houses. They're looking at the projects that they didn't have time to do for all the time when they're working 40 hours a week. They're sitting around, they're bored out of their minds, and they want cookies. I'm pretty sure what all of this is. Or they're making eggs every morning. They're making an omelet every morning, not just having their protein shake and running out the door at the last second. They're eating a lot better and they're cooking more at home. So, yeah, I don't think this is panic at all. I think it's funny, and I could have seen it coming, but I don't think it's panic. Also from CNN Business, we've got Matt McFarland says 5 truck drivers share what it's like to haul critical supplies during a pandemic. And we'll read a couple of these as well. The U.S. is counting on truck drivers to help ensure shelves remain stocked as Americans load up on things like toilet paper and canned goods amid the coronavirus pandemic. CNN Business spoke with several truck drivers about their recent experiences. Many said they're working under trying circumstances that include longer hours, crowded truck stops, difficulties finding food, as well as health and safety concerns. Still, they said they're energized by the challenge and thankful for the gratitude they are receiving from fellow Americans. Here's what they had to say. They put the names in the article, but I'm going to leave them out. From one trucker out of Albuquerque. The 41 years I've driven, I've never seen truck traffic or seen the truck traffic. It's incredible. Places at night trying to get parked. The other day I didn't want to stop because it was so packed. People were lined up on the off-ramp, sleeping right there. They couldn't even get into the truck stop. It's getting hard to even get a sandwich in the past week with states closing down restaurants. I thought that was insanity. They're doing takeout, at least they have that. There's a restaurant that I always call ahead so they'll have it ready. This time they asked me if I could sit out in my truck. They brought it to my truck. That was a first. The other day I went to a Burger King in Kingman, Arizona. My truck doesn't fit through the drive-thru, so I stood in the drive-thru. I made my order, walking between the cars, and they looked at me like I was some kind of crazy guy. The lady said, "This is a drive-up," and I said, "Yeah, but I can't drive my semi." She just kind of chuckled and said, "We don't usually do this." I said, "Well, you're going to have to start because we got to eat," and they didn't give me a hard time. This is from a trucker out of Crossville, Tennessee. I'm a little bit nervous that I've been exposed. It's definitely scary. When I go home off the road, I live with my grandparents. I'm afraid to go home and transport it to them. Truckers aren't healthcare workers and we're not anybody special. We just have to keep working because what else are we going to do right now and people need their toilet paper? Well, it's not just toilet paper, it's eggs and medical supplies and a lot of other stuff too, so. This is, looks like a couple actually out of Greenville, Missouri. We've been a little bit more obsessive about hand cleaning and sanitizer because you just don't know. It's business as usual with the acknowledgement that we have to be super, super careful about hygiene. It's already using hand sanitizer before we walk to the truck stop or we have gloves on. We're not touching surfaces right now. I'm trying not to touch buttons. When we're at a fuel island to fill up, we're using pen versus actually touching that surface. People are kinder now. My husband, who I drive with, took $70 into Walmart Thursday to get what we needed. When he went up to the counter to ring everything up, it came to $78. This lady behind him gave him the extra money to pay for what he needed to get. I realized that was human kindness at work on our behalf as drivers. She didn't have to do that. He could have came back out to the truck, got his ATM card, and covered everything, but she didn't waste any hesitation giving him that extra money. So, yes, this is incredible, and I want to thank all of these people who are out there and doing that. I know we have Saint that regularly watches this show that also goes out in trucks, so thank him for his service the next time you see him somewhere on a live stream for coming out and trucking for all of us and taking care of us. Because these people had hard lives before, and now the demand is up, and they have even harder lives. They can't get docked, they can't get in to sleep at night. They can't do a lot of things that they normally could do. Jesus, I just looked over at my ad blocker icon there and it blocked 203 ads from this particular CNN business page. So get yourself an ad blocker. Now we come from the other idea of whether or not people should be transmitting Trump's messages because he's been doing his daily press briefings again. Trump's coronavirus briefings see big audiences. Some argue that's bad. This is from Sarah Fisher and Ursula Perano over at Axios. President Trump's daily White House novel coronavirus task force briefings are attracting record viewership. Some critics say TV news networks shouldn't air them because he and administration officials have dispensed misinformation about COVID-19. Why it matters. Live briefings can be difficult for networks to fact-check in real time. Critics argue that airing the press events unfiltered on a daily basis will mislead the public about the... Jesus fucking Christ. People are dumb. Critics argue that airing the press events unfiltered on a daily basis will mislead the public about the pandemic, putting Americans' health and safety at risk. Washington Post media columnist Margaret Sullivan wrote, "More and more each day, President Trump is using his daily briefings as a substitute for the campaign rallies that have been forced into extinction by the spread of the novel coronavirus." So yeah, these people are saying they can't control the narrative, so they don't want to put it on their channel anymore. A Seattle NPR station tweeted Wednesday that it would stop airing the virus briefings live due to the threat of misinformation. I'm pretty positive that's against the law, based on the public funding for NPR, but somebody from Washington State would have to fact check that for me. Other critics are calling on the news networks to stop airing the briefings live, or at least not without improved real-time fact-checking. Cable news should cancel the Trump show, Vox.com co-founder Matthew Iglesias wrote. MSNBC's Rachel Maddow said on her show, all of us should stop broadcasting honestly, adding, it's going to cost lives. So, the problem I have with this is probably pretty obvious. The problem that I have with this, of course, is that once these press briefings stopped, every one of these networks called for the press briefings to come back up. They said that the Trump administration was being opaque, that he wasn't allowing the press to be in, that he was withholding information from the American people. We came to a pandemic. We came to a point where the president needs to be addressing the nation, where people need the hope. They need to hear what's going on and what the federal government is going to do for them because, for whatever reason, they have faith in the federal government to do stuff for them. When people actually need to hear this stuff, now they want to shut it down. Now they want to stop it. When he stopped it, it wasn't good enough, and now that he's doing it again, it's not good enough again. So, keep that in mind with the media that wants to control the narrative that's going to you. And I don't want to control the narrative that's going to you. I just want to read the newspaper to you guys every morning and comment on it and see what you guys think. I read the live chat every day on Contemporary. I don't read it on the air like I used to, except I did check in with you guys to see if we were live again, but I give you guys a shout out for a reason, because I want you in here and discussing. I want you to discuss the news amongst yourselves, and I do take information from the live chat the next day, so if there's something pertinent, I look up to it, because not only do you need to know what's going on, but you need the chance to discuss it amongst yourselves. So that's why I have a Discord server, that's why I have a live chat, and that's why I'm doing this for you guys. So absolutely. And if the mainstreams won't do it anymore, I will find a way to do it. I don't know how, because they're usually doing it while I'm at work, but I will find a way to broadcast them if some of these mainstreams won't do it anymore. All right, last one from the Hill seems to be a response from this. From Jonathan Easley, pro-Trump group demands TV station stop airing liberal super PAC ads. So this may be just a response to this, but it may not be as well. Lawyers for the largest outside group supporting President Trump's re-election sent letters to television station managers in key battleground states on Wednesday demanding they stop running a new ad cut by a top Democrat super PAC. Legal counsel to America First Action, the pro-Trump group, sent a letter to station managers in Florida, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania demanding a new ad cut by Priorities USA be taken off the air, arguing that it falsely gives the impression that Trump called the coronavirus a hoax. Based on the full text of the president's remarks and as confirmed by numerous fact-checking outlets, it is clear that Priorities USA's doctored footage is not only deceptive and misleading but false. The letter states, federal law requires your station operate in the public interest, and continuing to carry an advertisement widely condemned as false is inconsistent with that interest. On behalf of our client, the American First Policies Incorporated, we formally demand that your station refuse to air this advertisement, the group adds. So, I don't like that. I don't like American First Action, or America First Action. The super PAC should have the right to air the ad no matter what, but we should have the right to sit back and fact check it as well. That's why we have independent media. That's why we have media. Everybody who watches independent media knows what the president said about the hoax at this point, because they've took the time to look beyond the narrative that was being fed to people. So what we need to do at this point is try and get more people involved in the independent media, try and get them to see the truth and not just what the mainstreams, what the big three networks want to tell them. I was just discussing this last night. It's the same thing with Pelosi. Pelosi could sit back and torpedo this bill, and if this was 1977, all three of the major news networks would have covered for her, and there would have been no other outlet for information. Now, there are several thousand news outlets just on YouTube alone, plus once you had DLive, Twitch, BitChute, plus the cable news networks. There's several thousand different ways for that information to get out to you. And most of us are just commenting on what we can find from the media, but we're doing the homework to find the things that the mainstream media doesn't want you to find. So, yes, absolutely, let them put the advertisement up. Don't suppress the free speech of your political enemies, even if it's not in the best interest for the American people. Let us pick it apart and give the real story, and let the Democrat super PACs bury themselves with misinformation, because the truth is going to come out. Let them bury themselves, let them destroy their own trust with the American people. That's the way I see it. Lastly, and I promised, we got another Me Too item from almost 20 years ago. Over 20 years ago. Almost 30 years ago. You notice that none of these things come up recently. It's always from 20, 30, 40 years ago. This is from The Blaze. Joe Biden accused of sexual assault by former staff assistant. She claims that he assaulted her in 1993. This is from Carlos Garcia. A woman accused Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden of sexual assault in 1993 when she worked for him as a staff assistant. Tara Reid revealed the graphic details of her accusations in an interview on Wednesday with journalist and podcaster Katie Harper. Reid said that she was sent to rush a gym bag to Biden, who was a U.S. Senator at the time, when he accosted her in a side area and allegedly sexually assaulted her. We were alone, and it was the strangest thing. There was no, exchange really. He just had me up against the wall, Reid said. His hands were on me and underneath my clothes, she went on, explaining with graphic details what he went on to do with her. She claimed that he was kissing her during the assault and asked her if she wanted to go somewhere else. After the assault, he said to her, "Come on, man, I heard you like me." Reid claims that he angrily dismissed her and walked off. She says that the assault left her shaking in a stairwell, trying to grasp what had just happened and what I should do or what I should say. While there were no witnesses to the alleged assault, Harper noted that Reid had told her brother and a close friend about what happened during the time. Biden had been accused by numerous women of inappropriate behavior and sexual harassment. Oh, this is juicy. This is fun. Oh, this is fun. This is a lot of fun. So, I don't buy any of this because I have half a brain. Now, there is a point that it could have happened. Joe is a creepy guy, and he comes from a simpler time where you just bash your woman over the head with a club and took her as your wife. Maybe not that simple of a time, but he is older than time itself, so it's possible that he could have done that. But there's no corroborating evidence, and I will treat this the same way as I treat any of the accusations against Kavanaugh, against Trump, or anything else. Because I'm ideologically consistent. Now, the Democrat Party is going to have to figure out whether they're going to be ideologically consistent or whether they're going to put forward the guy that they want to put forward. And I would almost bet that Miss Reid here is a Bernie sis. A Bernie bro chick, I'm almost willing to guarantee is what she is. And once again, this absolutely could have happened, but you can't prosecute it. There's no evidence. This is somebody going on a podcast at some point. And this is just like that author that went after Trump for the dressing room escapade, and this is just like Kavanaugh. A story with no evidence, but of course, we are supposed to believe all women, so I do hope they remember that as they're going forward. This is fun. I love this. I love watching them eat their own. So with that, we're going to do a couple things that are a thing that I like, a thing that I hate, and we are going to get on out of here. That is so juicy. I love that. So the thing that I like for today is the fact that we're starting to see commerce pick up. We're starting to see a lot of places like Ford pick up and try and get people back to work. In spite of the fact that all of Twitter is saying that if you want to go back to work, it means that you want people to die. There are people that are eager to get out there to get their families going and get everybody fed, get everything taken care of. They don't want to have the government take care of everything. And they know that if they let the government in for just that little bit, the government's going to come in and try and take care of everything. So we've got to keep that in mind, and we've got to give it to the American people. We are a self-sustaining people. We don't want the government in like other countries in the world have. And it fills me with a little bit of hope, the fact that we still want that in our country, despite the fact that so many in our country want to move us to the point where the government controls everything in our lives. And now for a thing that I hate. So the thing that I hate today, of course, is the fact that we are moving into a point where Outlaw is going to be king again. And you would think that I would like that because I'm very comfortable with the idea of going around and transporting things in a way that's not necessarily morally right. In a way that's right, but not necessarily in the eyes of the law. I have questionable ethics that way. And it's a good way to entrepreneur. And I know that even if we're not allowed to go and do things, there are people who are going to pay for the services of getting things transported. You can make a lot of money if you had a low-slung car with a big trunk. But the fact that we're getting to this point, and the fact that we do have to resort to a black market, or ideas of a black market, or just the ideas of running things behind the government's back, just sickens me to a point. I thought we were getting to the point where we weren't going to have to get to there anymore. We were starting to roll back regulation, and just in general, we were starting to become a more free and more commercial economy again. But now we're going back to the idea that some people are going to say, if you want medical supplies, or if you want to get some toilet paper, if you want to go to a store, or get to a place to get your nails done, or haircut, or some other non-essential business, you're going to have to set up that non-essential business in the back of your house where nobody can see, exchange cash, and have somebody drive you there, transport you there, or transport an item to you under the guise of the black market. We shouldn't have to be there anymore. We should have the government out of the way, so we should never have to do stuff like that again. As much fun as it is to do that kind of stuff, the reason that we have to do that kind of stuff is because the government wants to get in the way, and I hate the fact that the government wants to get in the way. Well, that's all that I have today. Of course, I'm going to write down everybody's name who talked today. Thanks everybody for making sure that I knew when we got back up onto YouTube, DLive, and Twitch. And we'll shout you all out tomorrow, and we will be back here bright and early tomorrow with more Contemporary. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.